on this episode of Postcards.
My favorite part is that ever since I was a sixth grader in school, I've always loved stockades. Life doesn't get any better than this, to have a stockade and a playground like this in your backyard.
Who knew that there was so much to soap, to simple soap?
Installation should always activate the space or involve the viewer in some way.
This program on Pioneer Public Television is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008. Additional support provided by Mark and Margaret Yakel-Julien in honor of Shalom Hill Farm, a nonprofit rural education retreat center in a beautiful prairie setting near Windham in southwestern Minnesota. ShalomHillFarm.org. The Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, your ideal choice for Minnesota resorts, offering luxury townhomes, 18 holes of golf, Darling Reflection Spa, Big Splash Water Park, and much more. Alexandria, Minnesota. Explore hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for a great vacation or a place to hold an event. ExploreAlex.com. Tri-State Brain and Spine Institute, with locations in Alexandria, Edina, Crookston, and Maple Grove. Doctors dedicated to evaluating and treating all types of brain and spine problems, no matter how complex.
The Forest City Stockade and Historic Forest City is a rebuilding project of what Forest City was like back in 1862. We have this drawing here that was done by a lady from Atwater, Minnesota in 1927. She gathered this information by talking to her father and her grandfather. And this is the one drawing that we've used for our whole project. This has been our guide for the whole project. Without this, it would be very tough to have done this.
The Forest City Stockade was the bicentennial project of the Meeker County Historical Society. And in 1976, we reconstructed the stockade near its original site from 1862. And it is maintained. We have this rendezvous for the last 32 years where people come together here, and we have crafts demonstrated and all kinds of activities going on here.
Out here in the town part, there are buildings, the general store, the chapel, and the land office that go back to that 1870 time period. And when people come and want to donate a building to us, we go to check to see what shape the logs are in. We never take the roofs with or like that. That we leave at the site where we find. But if the logs are in good shape, we take the buildings apart, move them over here, and then reassemble them. We are a true historic site. During the Native American uprising back in 1862, a lot of the settlers were leaving the frontier out here. We were the frontier at that time, and there was quite a few that went on down to the metropolitan area. They just did not like it out here, but there was also a fair amount of people that wanted to stay here. They loved this area. And 240 people gathered here at Forest City because we were the county seat, and they came up with the plan of putting up the stockade. I should say that the home that's inside the stockade walls was a home back then, and that's why they chose this site, because there was 2 families that lived in a home that size. And then they put up the walls in a 24-hour time period around that home to serve as a refuge for them while they were here. And they were here for 10 days. and then just camped inside the walls there for that 10-day time period until things kind of settled down.
Well, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, it's kind of a, if you don't do it, it's history lost. And we do it a lot for the children. We do a lot of school tours in the spring. Like I think last year we had 600 or 800 kids come through, from the schools. So that's interesting, and they get to learn a lot of history from just seeing the buildings. It's amazing how many kids, we walk by the garden. How many kids don't even know what a garden is anymore? So it's history lost if you don't show it. So other than that, the old folks still, there's a lot of them still have memories of old farms and Grandpa's farm and that sort of thing. But it really is just a place for, I think, to relive history. And it's amazing. Just today now, an old fellow walked in and he has another log house that he's going to donate to us if we come and get it. So I guess I know where my fall is going to be. So we take them down log for log and we bring them back and turn them into something useful. They're all log houses that were doomed to be burned.
We are a history book. When you come through the gate, everything is live that you get to see. All our demonstrations are very correct to the time period of 1862. And whatever you get to see, all the people that volunteer down here are very knowledgeable in whatever area they work in, so they can share with you a lot of information that you are in need of. My favorite part is that ever since I was a sixth grader in school, I've always loved stockades. And when they were putting this one up, I thought life doesn't get any better than this, to have a stockade and a playground like this in your backyard. And that's what keeps me going. It's fun to come down here, spend time, and relive that time period of those early pioneers.
We were invited here about 4 or 5 years ago. It's just a way to educate the public, to see the children's faces when they've never seen a spinning wheel, much less a weaving loom, or watch somebody take a piece of raw wool or a piece of what looks like straw. They might see it, pictures of the farm and hay, and oh no, this is flax. It's a totally different thing, and you can even wear it. Just to see the look, it's worth it. And it's really fun to see the 80-year-old guys come through and go, oh, my mom used to make me run her spinning wheel. That's fun.
The tools I have here, they're newer, but the style hasn't changed since leatherwork began. The same techniques I use are the same as it was back in the pioneer days. I think a lot of what I like out here is, especially the interaction with the kids, is just because they're the next generation. Someone else has to carry on after I get done with this, whenever that is, retire from it, or somebody else has to carry the torch. I learned this. One of my mentors, he was 80 plus years old, told me, just get on it, kids, start doing this. And here I am, 10, 15 years later, after I talked to him, now I'm doing this. So I think it's important the next generation knows how to do this.
I think history in itself is important, in that everything we learn prevents us from having to relearn it. The more we know about our past, the more we can have success in the future. And I think it's very important for our children to know what their heritage is, where they came from, and where they're going in the future. If they can maintain some of the fine arts, the fiber arts, that kind of thing, they're going to have a skill that very few people have nowadays.
Well, I think the lessons of history are important, and so I like to see the young people being able to see what it was like here 153 years ago, and history is alive, and we need to remember it and keep the spirit of the past with us today.
You need to know where you've been in order to know where you're headed in the future. And I think we have a lot of school kids that come and do tours here in the spring of the year, and I think it's a very good educational process for them to come and spend time here. This is so much better than looking at a film or whatever. This is how life was. I'll say it again, it's the whole place. I love the whole place. It's just each building, everything we do here has its own identity, and without it, it wouldn't be right. It's just a fun place to go. I love the whole place.
I first started making soap in 2009, and we had been volunteering out here at the Stockade in a couple of different capacities. Talked with Bob, who is one of the principals here out at the Stockade, about doing pioneer-based soap out here, and he thought that was really a terrific idea. I come out here twice a year and do talks on soap making, like how the pioneers used to do it, whether it was using buffalo tallow or deer tallow, or even being able to use beef or lard tallow. This is all buffalo tallow, 100% buffalo fat. So I've got it in a cast iron pot, and that's how the pioneers would do it. Typically, they would make their soap in the fall of the year because that's when they harvested their animals, and a lot of times they would do it outside rather than inside over an open fire. So again, this is 100% buffalo tallow. I get the suet, the actual fat that comes, the best fat that comes from around the organs of the animal is the best fat to use. This has been warmed, so it's on a liquid level. And then I want to add the lye. Because I'm dealing with lye, I need to make sure that I'm going to be safe at that. So modern soap makers tend to use safety glasses and rubber gloves, but back in the day they didn't necessarily have those. And a lot of accidents happened from handling the lye and creating problems with it. So I have my lye already pre-done. So in here I already have my pre-mixed lye and my water. Typically the pioneers would use rainwater, and they would make their own lye. Also a key to handcrafted soap, whether it was what the pioneers made or modern, is it needs to cure. It at minimum needs to cure 4 weeks. Some people do use it sooner. It is technically soap sooner, but if you let it cure for a good long time, what'll happen then is it'll become a more mild soap, and it'll actually become harder and it'll last longer. So the longer it sits around and waits for you, the better off it is. So I typically won't sell my soap until it's been cured for 6 weeks. This is getting good and thick. I think that's a really nice thick soap. Rendering down the buffalo tallow is quite a job, so I want to hit it with my stick blender just to make sure I got it good. But that's not how we would actually do it Pioneer way. So I just want to get the lumps out of it. Now this is still caustic lye in here, so we need to be really careful. It's going to need a little bit of time to actually cure and saponify, finish the saponification process before it stops being the lie. It's getting there, but it's not quite there yet. So a lot of times what the pioneers would do is they would find an old wooden box somewhere, line it with whatever it was that they had available. Typically it would be something like oilcloth. I have muslin in there. And I'm going to put it in the mold. I'm going to kind of glop it in there. It's kind of messy. But again, this wasn't all about in, the 1860s. It wasn't all about the pretty like we are now. It was about utility and service and making something that's going to work rather than making something that was expensive. Getting right down to the narrow here. Out here at the stockade, it's really important to make sure that we're preserving history. So whenever there's something new that has an idea of being introduced out at the stockade, one of the first questions that some of the people that have been with the stockade for a lot of years, one of the first questions they ask is, well, how did the pioneers do it? And can we continue to do it that way? Because they want to make sure that we're preserving that history accurately so that when people come out here, they can really see what the stockade is about, how the pioneers did it, and how far we've come, and really how easy we have it in comparison. Absolutely, my favorite part about the stockade is the people out here. All the people that are out here that if someone were to come out here when it's fully staffed, anyone that has pioneer clothing on, they're volunteers. They're out here because they want to be out here, not because somebody's paying them. It's just for the simple fun of reenacting history and hanging out with like-minded people and preserving that history for anyone that wants to hear what we have to say. And for the most part, any place that you go, any building, any person that you talk to can give you the history of the stockade and give you the history of whatever it is that they're demonstrating. So that's what's fun, is educating people about it and saying, you know what, this is right here. Come take a look at what life used to be. We would just want to make sure that this little bit of history is preserved. Who knew that there was so much to soap, to simple soap? How much science that it went into it, how much creativity that can go into it. It's not just simply a matter of taking, a chunk of fat and some lye and some water and mushing it together. You're not going to get soap that way. You have to measure it accurately, you have to stir it correctly, you have to cure it correctly. Who knew that there was so much science involved in making soap?
I'm Dana Sikkila. I'm a printmaking installation artist. Right now, I'm an artist in residency at the Hinge Arts Residency Program put on by Springboard for the Arts. You're located in Fergus Falls. My installations are always based off of one individual image, and so with the amazing thing with printmaking is you're creating a matrix that can be duplicated hundreds and thousands of times and not get worn down, and versus drawing or painting where it's a one-time kind of thing. And so that's what gravitates me to printmaking. It's really fast-paced and the process is really interesting. So what I do is I'll take one singular image that already conveys some sort of movement. So with this project here, I'm concentrating on the image of a bird, and I'm screen printing it. Probably with this project, there'll be about somewhere between around 1,500 individual images that will be constructed throughout the whole installation. And so I screen print them all, and then I hand paint on top of all of them, and then I'll sit down and I cut them all out by hand. And so the process is extremely repetitive, as well as the content of the use of the image is really repetitive, because it's showing how just one image itself can create something on a larger form if it's just repeated in a different manner. Even though it's the same image repeating, they're all individually different with the way that they're cut out and the way that they're painted and the way they're printed, because there's that use of the human hand. And with printmaking, there's a lot of like higher technology now, and a lot of people are like, well, why don't you just like digitally print your work, or instead of cutting them all out by hand, like getting a die cut, like something to assist you. But I think with printmaking, it has such a rich history to the process. I want to try and stay as true as that and have my hand in every single thing that gets done. I always have a really bad habit of thinking bigger is better, and I think a lot of artists have that feeling as well. But I really enjoy the process of like critical thinking and problem solving, which you have to do with installation art. You're a little bit at the mercy of the location themselves and what you're capable of doing. I'm still wanting to continue to be an installation artist, but push the three-dimensional aspect of the work, because a lot of times, sometimes my work has to be more, even though it's not flat against the wall, it's not as protruding out into the space to where the viewer is like a part of it. And so because I have this really giant room to work in, and I'm really lucky for that, I'm trying to create more of a structure to where it'll come out into the space to where the viewer is part of it, like they can be inside of it, and it's basically creating a space within a space. Installation should always activate the space or involve the viewer in some way. With the installation, I get a chance to kind of get into space and act more intuitively. Like, of course, I have plans of how my work is going to look, but a lot of times when I actually have to travel to get to my location where I'm putting my work up, I have to sit there for just a couple hours and like in my head map out like, how am I going to construct this to the wall? How is this going to look in this corner? Well, this is Murphy. He's almost 9 years old, and I've had him for about 8 years. I got him from a rescue in Kansas City. And for years, it had always been Murphy and myself. And with my work in my undergrad, I was having a lot of struggles with creating or like my use of content and what my work was going to be based on. And my professor, Eric Watercutty, he was like, well, Dana, you just need to start by making work of things you really like. And the one thing that I really liked at that time, well, still do obviously, was Murphy. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to start making prints of my dog and just see where that goes. And then one day I had made this print of Murphy, and I hated the whole entire thing. I hated the work completely, but the only thing that I really liked about the work itself was Murphy's face. And so I had about 20 of these prints, and I ended up cutting out his head from all of them. And then I started constructing these 20 heads together and kind of layering them. And then I was like, well, what if I put these all like on the wall and they kind of start to transform into something else besides a dog head? And so that was my first ever installation ever, was an image of Murphy. I just started using him in all my prints, and now he's kind of my trademark. And even in my headshots, it's always like pictures of Murphy and myself. So he's played a huge role, and especially like when you're young and you're going through transitions in your life, and having that bond with something else is always really important. But he comes to the openings and everyone is, he's kind of like a name in Mankato now. Even like the city of Mankato sent me an email the other day, and it was addressed to Dana, Sikkila, and Murphy. So now we're kind of forming as just one person, which I think is actually pretty hilarious. So I'm using it to my benefit as an artist. I think art as a whole completely defines my life right now. Especially in Minnesota, a lot of people think Minnesota and you're an artist, everyone thinks you gotta live in like a big city or you gotta live in New York or Los Angeles, but there's so many positive things going on in Minnesota right now for the arts, because I qualify or identify myself as an artist, but I'm also an art teacher. I teach at the university as well as the gallery that I run. I'm executive director of the 410 Project Art Gallery in Mankato, and I'm also on the board of directors of Prairie Lakes Regional Arts Council. And so we deal a lot with grant funding for organizations and artists. So basically every single thing that I do, either with arts or arts administration or my job, revolves around the arts. One thing I want people to get out of my work is that art and installation art can be something that can be really impactful, and that I think as an artist we always need to consider the way people are going to view our work. And I think that's the one thing that really draws me to installation art is it has that factor of the viewer being involved in it.
Have an idea for postcards? Send your story suggestions to postcards@pioneer.org. This program on Pioneer Public Television is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008. Additional support provided by Mark and Margaret Yakel-Julien in honor of Shalom Hill Farm, a nonprofit rural education retreat center in a beautiful prairie setting near Windham in southwestern Minnesota. ShalomHillFarm.org. The Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, your ideal choice for Minnesota resorts, offering luxury townhomes, 18 holes of golf, Darling Reflection Spa, Big Splash Water Park, and much more. Alexandria, Minnesota. Explore hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for a great vacation or a place to hold an event. ExploreAlex.com. Tri-State Brain and Spine Institute, with locations in Alexandria, Edina, Crookston, and Maple Grove. Doctors dedicated to evaluating and treating all types of brain and spine problems, no matter how complex.